Yo, what's poppin', my people? It's your big homie Crooks the Great, aka CTG, and I'm back at you guys with another banger of a video. Because in today's video, we're going to be touching on the video that I made earlier today about UFC 6 potentially coming out in 2025, as well as the fight night return status. So this is actually the guy who put out the tweets. So let's go ahead and jump straight into it, and I'll react to it as we go.
UFC 6. I tweeted that a couple days ago. Or yesterday. I just posted UFC 6. That's all. What did he mean? He's being so vague. Well, yeah, intentionally. I got you guys talking. I'm here to tell you there's no news. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Oh, boy.
Hey, you know how many people would be mad as hell at this dude? Everybody would probably unfollow him, not gonna lie.
Boy, imagine that one. Oh, imagine that one. Get everybody in, talking about it, and just to say, yeah, there's no news. By the way, if you have any questions, I'll answer them as much as I can.
I would be mad. No, low-key, I'd never follow him again.
I'm here to confirm that UFC 6 is in full production. And the early plan is for a release in 2025. There's a chance that the game doesn't come out until 2026, but the plans are for a 2025 launch as of now for UFC 6. There's a lot of of what UFC 5 did. A lot to like. But they know they have from what I've been told by multiple people, they know what they feel needs to be fixed, what worked and didn't work, and that's the focus. To be honest, will it work? I don't know. There's a lot. For me, with UFC 5, it just got boring really quick.
Okay, so let's stop it right there, because we got a lot of information. 2025 is what it's looking like for the earliest release of UFC 6, which is absolutely crazy. Now, if you guys have been following my channel for a little bit, I have told you guys, once the game hits its year mark, which actually is this month, I believe it came out October 27th. I can't even remember. Let me look at it. Somewhere in October. I don't really know the exact release date of UFC 5, but we've hit, if we're not at the year mark, we're damn close to it. At the year mark, the developers will start full production of UFC 6. So I was right on the mark with that. So him saying that UFC 6, they're starting to ramp up the production of UFC 6, or UFC 6, it's in full production, shouldn't really be a shocker. But a 2025 release is pretty crazy. I'm not going to lie, because they really haven't put out any gameplay updates for UFC 5 in terms of fixing a lot of the things that the community has talked about. And honestly, I'm really not surprised now hearing that UFC 6 is in production, because it makes sense, right? The timelines kind of correlate with each other. This is probably why we haven't gotten any big major gameplay updates to UFC 5, and why a lot of the broken mechanics haven't been worked on, because they've already started full production on UFC 6. I don't really know how I feel about that, because it was contrary to what they did for UFC 4. But then again, UFC 4 to UFC 5, like I said, took a little bit of an extra longer time. I believe it was about 2.5 years. Somebody said 3 years, 2 to 3 years from UFC 4 to UFC 5. So maybe that's why they were updating the game so consistently, because they hadn't ramped up production. But with UFC 6, there is a lot of things that I like about UFC 5, but there is a lot of things that were wrong with UFC 5. So this is a little concerning to me. It is. It is really, really concerning to me. And I'm really interested to see, and I'd be really interested to hear from the game changers if they are already kind of hearing the developments of what's going on what's to be changed for UFC 6. Because if they didn't change anything in UFC 5, then and they haven't worked on what the community said about UFC 5 in UFC 6, UFC 6 is going to be a catastrophe. It's not going to be very, very good at all. So it's kind of crazy to hear that the game might drop in 2025. Now, he didn't say which time it's going to drop, so it could be later, like in October, like it did for UFC 5, or September, like UFC 4. But I would probably say it's probably going to drop in around that time frame, September or October.
As someone who doesn't really play online because it's not my cup of tea. But they know, like they tried the live service route. It's working. Like the addition of the sphere, like that got a lot of people hyped about the game again. And when they added that, which it looks so cool in the game, just like it did in real life, looks so cool. But that team is dedicated. EA, UFC, they're reinvigorated on the next game. As far as features,
EA Vancouver is the specific division of EA Sports that makes Fight Night as well as UFC games. So EA Vancouver is the team that's ramping up production on UFC 6. Just to let you guys know that.
That I don't know. I can't tell you if there's going to be crossplay. I can't tell you what they're going to overhaul gameplay-wise yet. That I don't know. Yet. Eventually, I'll find that out as it gets more. But UFC 6 is in active development. So there's some good news if you're hoping for that. A lot of people were worried, like, are they really going to announce UFC 6 this year? They're not going to do a year thing. When you look at the history of EA Sports UFC games, I mean, you had the first one come out in, 2014? And then you had the second one come out in 2016, 2018, 2020, and then 2023. So they're definitely sticking with their 2 to 3 year window. It's just we're getting to, will they feel like the launch of UFC 5 didn't go as well because people kind of fell off the radar. Marketing, it just fell off the radar on a general scale, and they want to fix that and change that around. They are working, from what I know, to go back to a 2-year or every other year release cycle, and that's currently the plan. Someone brought up in the chat, okay,
I want to pause it right there because when he said people fell off, there was a point in time, cover athletes are super important to sports games. Very, very important. That's why you guys see whoever is popular at the time is going to go on the cover. I mean, when UFC 1 came around, we had just gotten off John Jones and Alexander Gustafsson's fight, so they were on the cover. UFC 2, you got, I believe what that was, Ronda Rousey and Conor McGregor. Ronda Rousey was setting the world on fire, obviously bringing women's MMA to the forefront. Conor McGregor had just slept Jose Aldo for the featherweight title, so they were on the cover. UFC 3, it was the Conor McGregor era. It was right after he won, right after he became double champ status, so he was the biggest star in the sport, so he was on UFC 3, right? UFC 4 rolls around, Israel Adesanya setting the world ablaze with his massive middleweight run, right? So he's on the cover, and then you had Jorge Masvidal coming off of the flying knee knockout. You had him knocking out Darren Till as well, or Darren Till before Ben Askren, right? And then you had him, he was setting the world ablaze with the 3-piece Minnesota 2 on Leon Edwards, so he was a massive star, so he was on the cover. UFC 5 was the same thing. You had Valentina Shevchenko, who was the beast of the women's flyweight division, mass beating up everybody, and you had Alexander Volkanovski, who was this damn near unstoppable force in featherweight. But what happened was, when UFC 5 was announced, right, was right around the time Alexa Grasso beat Valentina Shevchenko. She subbed her out. And then you had Alexander Volkanovski lose to Islam Makhachev in their fight in the lightweight, for the lightweight title, right? So, I mean, that kind of diminishes a little bit of the stock of the cover athletes on the game. And then kind of there was a little bit of a lull in time where Conor wasn't fighting. Israel had just lost to Alex, but Alex wasn't a big megastar like he is now. You kind of just had a lull in time where there wasn't those massive superstars to kind of hype up the game, in my opinion. And yeah, so it might have caused a little bit of people to fall off wanting to buy UFC 5. So I think that's more of what he was referring to when he says that people fell off.
GTA 6. For a lot of games...
Okay, he kind of cuts into GTA 6 here, so we're going to fast forward a little bit.
Sports titles will not, I don't believe, will be any one of them. It's a crossover. People aren't going to pick, it's a very crossover market. People aren't going to pick GTA 6 over, say, granted, Dragon Age is coming out, now. But people aren't going to pick, you're going to pick GTA 6 over Dragon Age, maybe, or vice versa. But you're not going to pick, a Madden over a GTA 6, but you're going to probably pick up both if you're looking at one.
Facts.
So.
That's true.
UFC 6 in full production. Same team. They did expand the team a little bit. I don't know by how much, but that's where we're looking at that. So it's not the biggest breaking news, but it's to know, yes, it's here. It's coming. We're getting another UFC game.
Well, that's good to know.
Of course, that leads to the next. Blue Chip, thank you for the follow. Osix, thank you for the follow. Asdorfin, thank you for the follow over on Twitch. Now, this leads to Fight Night. Now, if you're new here, you don't know that I've been covering the status of Fight Night.
Mm-hmm. Okay, here we are.
That it's been in the works for a few years now. The plan has been for a new Fight Night to come. Originally, the plan was to release in between the next two UFC games. That's no longer the case. The game had been paused for quite some time. Then work began again. Then paused again. Then work began again. NM Coxie, thank you for the follow. I can tell you now, from what I know and what multiple sources have told me, EA is once again working on Fight Night. They don't know when it could be coming, but they do, if it releases, expect it to be a this generation console game.
Thank God.
That is what things are doing, or where things are going. EA has kept a close eye on Steel City Interactive and Undisputed.
All right, so let me pause it right there before we get into that, because that's a very big point. So, production for Fight Night is here, ladies and gentlemen. They have, again, started working on it. According to this guy, EA is now in starting up the process of working on Fight Night again. Now, there's two things that could have caused a little bit of a delay in the Fight Night process. Obviously, like I said earlier about UFC, EA Vancouver that makes UFC games also is the company that makes the Fight Night games. So like I said in my video this morning, Fight Night, it's going to be hard for a Fight Night game to come out with a UFC game. It's going to have to come out in a year where UFC doesn't drop. So if we're getting UFC 6 next year, then we'll probably get Fight Night in 2026. But like he just said right there, they've been keeping a close eye on Steel City, which means everything that we've wanted to happen to EA is officially happening, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm so happy to hear it. Steel City has officially put the pressure on EA Sports to bring back Fight Night. Because Undisputed, there's really no game that rivals it right now. Fight Night Champion is super old. It's super old. I know those of you guys might love it. Y'all love it. I'm not saying that I don't love it, because I love the game too. But it is an older game. It is a forgotten thought in a lot of people's minds. Compared to Undisputed, that is the new shiny toy that people want to play with. You know what I'm saying? So it's good that they kind of lit a fire underneath EA's ass to get production for Fight Night. I'm really happy about that.
They aren't worried about affording licenses because EA has billions of dollars to spend on licenses. That's not an issue at all. They're worried about the interest in the sales. The thing that stopped them is, like I said, the interest. They've seen the interest in Undisputed up here. They have noticed that people are talking and the views are the views are the views. I mean, that's what it is. They know there's a market there. And with how big boxing has gone, or has gotten, especially in the overseas and in the Middle East, it's still big in the UK, but you can't. I mean, say what you will, I'm not a fan of it, but Saudi Arabia is a huge boxing place, and if they can get a game out, it's going to do well there. So it's back on the table. That's the new. Like, if you were coming here expecting me to say, hey, Fight Night's coming out this year, I don't know what to tell you. That's never been the type of news I break usually. Usually I break first looks and things like that, or what I'm hearing. But I can tell you that it's after years of on and on again, Fight Night is in the stage where EA is working on what they have to do to get this out. And should it release, it will release on current gen Xbox and PlayStation hardware. And that's where we're at. So, yeah, we're looking that Fight Night, 3 to 4 years is a good window for it. By 2028 is a good window. Personally, if I were to put money on it today, I would say we're looking at Fight Night 2027, maybe. They are working on both UFC and Fight Night games at the same time. The one thing is, UFC they have the contract with to keep going. Boxing is much more different. Boxing is getting individual licenses. So they're not under any sort of contract to get a game out with an organization like when they signed with the UFC or when they signed with the NFL or NHL or NBA, whatever. So that's where we're at. The plan is for a Fight Night return. It remains the plan. It'll still be the plan. There's no reason to, in my mind, there's no reason to think it won't happen. UFC 6, also coming. I agree. I see some comments. UFC
All right.
6 should be made from scratch. I think it needs a whole new engine.
All right. So that's where we're gonna cut it right there. Fight Night champion, he says his best bet is probably in 2027, which would make sense. It would make sense. Might be a little tough unless they're going to have UFC 7. UFC 7 drop 2028. That would make sense. Or they're going to have UFC 8 drop in 2026. But I don't know. Either way you want to work it. To know that Fight Night is coming back and that there probably is going to be a brand new Fight Night game by 2027 is crazy. It's a crazy thought. And like he said, Fight Night is going to be a bigger game than Undisputed because, number one, the cachet and, the following that, not the cachet, the following that Fight Night has had throughout the numerous amounts of years of games that they have made. They're already going to have a huge following. And then the fact that EA has all of this money to give fighters individually for their rights, for their licensing, licensing is crazy. So all of the people that you guys aren't hearing about in Undisputed, they will be in Fight Night. We'll probably have Floyd Mayweather, maybe. Floyd asked for 10 mil, that's a lot. You'll probably for sure get Gervonta Davis to be in there. You'll get all of the really, really big names. They will be in Fight Night, I promise you. So it's crazy, man. It's crazy. And Fight Night games are always great. Fight Night Champion, like I said, is a great game. And that game is what? That game is ridiculously old. Ridiculously old, but it still is a very, very popular game to play amongst the community. So yeah, man, Fight Night, another Fight Night game is in the works for probably here in 2027. It's crazy to hear. I'm excited about it. I can't wait to hear what you guys think about it. If you guys are as excited as I am, as well as UFC 6, man, I'm super excited because, like I said, you guys see me playing a lot of Undisputed for Fight Night fans. I do play a lot of Undisputed, so I'm excited. I'm a big boxing fan. For UFC 6, you guys know I've been one of the best players in the world at every single UFC game that has come out that EA has made. So I'm definitely excited about that. But let me know what you guys think. Are you guys excited? Are you guys happy? Are you guys concerned that UFC 6 is going to get dropped so early with all the issues that UFC 5 had that haven't been addressed yet? Or are you just excited that another game is going to come out? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. And for those of you guys that are excited about Fight Night, does this excite you more knowing that there's a time frame on a Fight Night return? Or are you just like, I'm kind of skeptical. I don't think this game is actually going to come out. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think. But that's it for the video, my people. If you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to slap that subscribe button as well as slap that like button. It'd be much appreciated. For those of you guys that love combat sports and that love combat sports games, this is the channel for you guys. But until next time, my people, take it easy, be safe, enjoy the rest of your guys' day, afternoon, evening, depending on where you guys are watching this from. And I will see you guys in the next video.